Mic check, mic check, mic check. Can anybody hear me? Alrighty. Let me... Boom. Okay, so there is the chat. That's working now. Alright, you can hear me. That's wonderful. Let me center myself. Which way? Center. There we go. That's me. A little bit farther. And boom. Okay. Let's... Whew, wow. Okay. Let's do that. All right. We'll get some... Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I know what I'm doing here. I promise. Okay, I don't need that open anymore. I do want this. Come on, load. You can go away. Yeah. All right, turning the music down a little bit. Maybe if I get the mic closer to my face and speak louder. Okay, so there's my go live button. Let's refresh. Okay, I don't need Orion open. Hey, JM. Oh, excellent. I'm not even going to try to say Yohem. Yohem? I am really bad at your name, so this is me being an English/French speaker and not knowing Dutch very well. The chat is completely illegible on the feed. That is wonderful to know. Haha, there we go. Pretend it's Hebrew, Yohem. Tov Meod. I know enough Hebrew to be able to pronounce it apparently properly. Okay, so now that it's actually streaming for realsies, let me get my... There you go. Okay. So we're just going to go over what I did last time. What I did fake last time, apparently, because I... Yes, Jack, entire stream comprised of the Kevin Powell mods. Well, half of us anyway. So I tried doing this like 2 weeks ago, and apparently I forgot that stupid go live button in YouTube because my streaming software has a go live button, so I hit that and it didn't actually go live. So I'm just gonna kind of go over what I did all by myself last time, to kind of bring everybody up to speed so they know what the code is. Hot tea is great for talking. Okay, so I'm making a Pomodoro timer. For those of you who are, I mean, I'm always only Ragnar, so it's fine. Pomodoro timer is the idea of setting a timer for a decent amount of time. The default is 25 minutes, and then taking a short break, 5 to 10 minutes. And then doing that for 4 cycles, and then after that you take a long break, around 15 to 20 minutes. And so, as you can see, I've got my to-do things. I created my timer, and I have the countdown. So when I click on the start button, the timer starts counting down, and the stop button is no longer working. Excellent. So let's just go ahead and refresh that countdown. Actually, you know what? Let's just leave it counting down. Sorry about that cough. The CSS is pretty simple. Let's actually open up the dev tools here. And sorry for looking all funky on the picture, but I have my microphone literally right here. So the DevTools, this part of the DevTools is actually blocked by my microphone, so I kind of have to look over and around it. And every time I click on my streaming software, it hides the chat, so I know I always have to take a second. So I have this circle just because I like circles, and the idea is to later on have like a radial gradient going around, so you can actually see it counting down as it's getting closer and closer to 0. But I have just this one main container, which, let's look at the styles real quick. Yes, it's a Flux container. Don't at me, bro. But the timer itself, which is the actual everything, is display grid. And that's putting everything literally in the middle of everything, in the middle of the screen. Then I've got my timer, which has the background radius and the background color, so that's what's giving me the circle. And then this next div is holding my minutes and seconds. And the seconds, I have it as a superscript to make it smaller. And right here, that just literally has the colon. So that way it's 23:0022:59, blah, 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 right? And so it's not a whole lot so far. And also, guys, if the music is too loud or if I'm too quiet, let me know so I can get closer to the microphone or, you know, turn the music down or whatever. But so we're gonna go ahead and close the README. So the main.js, whenever I start a project, I do everything with globals. Everything is global, everything is available. So that way when I'm iterating, I have easy access to everything. And then once I kind of have a working product or working project, then I'll start breaking them down into modules and start kind of hiding things with closures, with creating constructor functions, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. But right now, everything is in the global state. So right now, I have my defaults timer. My main timer is 25 minutes, but everything is counting down in seconds, so I turn it to seconds. My rest timer is 5 minutes times 60 seconds. My long break is 20 minutes. So the DOM nodes that I think I need to take into consideration, I have my timer node, the minutes, the seconds, the stop button, and the start button. And so the state here, this is kind of what I'm going to be abstracting away later. But right now, I just need to be able to access everything. So as I'm iterating quickly, I don't have to do a lot of jumping through hoops. So the current countdown is the total amount of time in seconds remaining on the timer. The current timestamp is what's going to be used in my request animation frame to keep track of what the time is going out for. And then RAF is my request animation frame. So that way, sorry for the cough. That way here, so my button stop is supposed to cancel animation frame. So every time it runs through a loop, every time I run timer, it's going to set that RAF. So if I hit stop, notice how it stopped. And then start is going to redo it. And I actually am going to modify this here because I want it to start, and then while it's going, that start button is going to turn to a pause button. So we'll get to that in a second. And then cycle number, I have this set up for the current cycle. So the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and then once it hits 4, then it goes from the main timer to long break. And then depending on what main timer, the rest timer, the long break, I'm planning on having a different color for the circle to have a visual indication. Maybe even throw up an emoji right here that's like, you know, a computer emoji for work time, a stopwatch emoji for rest, and then maybe, person lying in bed for the long break. So that way you kind of know where you're going, or what, so you know visually by the emoji as well as the color what's going on. But that's later on. That actually is part of this part right here, visual countdown. Actually, let's go ahead and mark that off because I have a big timer, not much else. Perfect. All right, so also just another quick thing, the way that I set up my my JavaScript files. As you can see, I have these comments here just so you can see, but I put all of my constants at the top, variables after that, functions, event listeners, and then later on, if I need to actually do any function call to kick something off, that will go down here. But right now, literally everything is going through the event listeners, button start, button stop. So when we start, when I click on it, it's going to throw request animation frame to start timer. And start timer is very simple. We're grabbing, so request animation frame, let's see, MDN reference. Let's go ahead and copy that, paste it here. So request animation frame kicks off every time your browser is about to refresh. Yes, Ragnar, pure vanilla, no Vite, no nothing else. It's just straight up CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. No bundler, no prepackager, no nothing. Just bare bones right now. So request animation frame, you pass in a function that is run right before your browser refreshes. Most common refresh rate is 60 hertz, so 60 frames per second. Gaming machines might do 120, 144. Regardless, when you call it, you pass it a callback, and the callback has a timestamp, which is a high-res timestamp in milliseconds. So my start timer, my current countdown, which is how many seconds are left in the current countdown, is being set to main timer in seconds, which is way up here, so that's 25 minutes. My current timestamp, which currently is 0, is being set to the timestamp being sent into request animation frame. And so that way, when I do my first request animation frame run timer, my delta time is going to be correct, because the high-res timestamp is the number of milliseconds, I believe, since the window started. So even if I were to do run timer immediately on opening the window, the timestamp that's being passed in will be much greater than 0 because it's milliseconds, because there's load time, download time, all that fun stuff. So we're just using this to set everything to right now, and then we're kicking off the run timer. And so run timer, I've got all these comments in here. We're getting the delta time by the new timestamp we're being passed in, subtracting the current timestamp, so that's the delta time, and then we're updating the new timestamp. We are casting the millisecond delta time to seconds. I prefer to multiply things. It doesn't really matter that much nowadays with modern computers, but it does take fewer clock cycles to do multiplication than does division. So if you need that extra bit of performance, use multiplication by a fraction instead of division by whole number. Anyway, we're going to take our current countdown and we're going to reduce it by the delta time in seconds. And then our minutes remaining, we are turning that from a number into a 2-character string with 0 whatever afterwards. So let's go ahead and start. It'll take a minute to get there, but this way we have the pad start, so that way when it's like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's not going to be 1, it's going to be 0, 1, it's not going to be 3, it's going to be 0, 3. We do that, so we take our current countdown, we divide it by 60, then we're just going to truncate the decimals off, and then for the seconds, we'll just modulo 60, and we're doing the exact same thing. So our minutes node is the minutes remaining, seconds node is the seconds remaining. Hey, Marty Nass XS. What is going on? Glad to have you in chat. Yeah, Ragnar, you're right. Multiplication versus division is pretty moot in JavaScript with the way that current browsers function, but like that, so I'm doing all that anyway. And then afterwards, we're just gonna go ahead and kick off the timer one more time, and it's just constantly doing this, according to the refresh rate of your monitor. So the first thing we're gonna do is change this start button into a pause button. And then after that, we're going to do something here so it's not. So what I want to do is throw in something to update the DOM only if the numbers have changed. So the first thing we're going to do is going to add a new function right here before start timer. Actually, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some more state. Let paused equal false. Let started equal false. And so when we start, started equals true. So the idea being that when we click on the button start, if started is false, we're going to request animation frame start timer. If started is true, then we're going to check if we're paused, and we're going to toggle that and then toggle the text for start down here. So now that we have that, we're going to be const toggle start button. Boom. If paused, do something else, do something else. All right, so if we are paused, we want to continue countdown. Actually, no. What we're going to do is, first off, we're going to come here, if paused, return. So that way, we are going to be updating the timestamp. And then if paused, we're not going to worry about the delta time. We're not going to change the countdown, and we're not going to update the DOM. But we still need to do this. So I'm wondering if not paused, we want to do all of this here. No, that didn't work. All right, so if it's not paused, we're going to update everything. And then regardless of what happens, we are going to throw in the request animation frame at the end. Usually I don't like doing this. I like doing the early return, but I still need to request animation frame. So if I were to have if paused, I would have to do request animation frame. We'd have to do this multiple times in here. So having not paused, our happy path being indented is not something you normally do, but it prevents me from having to retype this over and over. So that's what we're doing this time. All right, so toggle start button. So we're going to have, what is it called? Button start dot inner text equals paused. If it's paused, we're gonna have it say continue else pause, then paused equals not paused. So therefore we're going to toggle it. And then we'll come back here to this. All right, if started, if started, we're going to toggle start button, else we're going to request animation frame. All right, let's check the console, make sure we have no errors. All right, start. And of course, in start timer, before we pop off the request animation frame, button start dot inner text equals pause. All right, so we click start. Now it says pause. We click pause. All right, start. It says pause. We click pause. It stops. We're going to give it just a little bit of time to make sure that, and then we hit continue, and then it keeps continuing from where we're at. And then the pause button works just fine. And then the stop button, not only do we want to cancel animation frame, but paused equal false, started equal false. No, not there. There. No, that. Okay. And then we should also, whoops, not started minus false, started equals false. Then also minutes node dot inner text equals 25, and seconds node dot inner text equals 0, 0, 0. All right, typo on line 93. Yeah, I got it. Thanks. Okay, so the button stop is growing. So we're canceling animation frame, so it's no longer going to keep calling itself. We are turning pause to basically toggling it off. Started is also being toggled off, and we are resetting our text in here. So let's go ahead and hit start. And then we want to hit stop. It refreshes. However, pause is still pause. So then we're going to say button start dot inner text equals start. So that way, when we start it, pause it, it says continue, we hit stop, it goes back to start. So later on, if we get to, I guess I should just leave the README open. If we get to the variable time options, this is going to need to take that into account. But right now, we have a giant button, or we have a giant timer. We have a start button that works. And when we hit pause, it stops it for however long. We can continue, we can stop, which resets. So now the next thing I want to do is this here. I only want to run that if things have changed. So the real question is, okay, so my current countdown is in seconds, and I am decrementing it here. So I think what I need to do is add more state up here. Let current countdown truncated equals 0. So current countdown truncated is going to be really simple. Current countdown truncated equals main timer in seconds. And then here, current countdown truncated equals math.floor. Actually, we're going to call this const new truncated. If new truncated equals current truncated, actually we need to, I'm starting to very much not like this. Because again, I need to do these updates only if things aren't the same. Current truncated equals new truncated. So that way, once the number of seconds changes, so let's break this down really quick. So the current countdown truncated is the countdown in seconds without the decimal, whereas current countdown, since we are getting our timestamp in milliseconds, we're multiplying it by 0.001 to turn it into seconds, but that's giving us decimals. So our truncated is removing those decimals, so it's pure seconds. No deciseconds, milliseconds, centiseconds, any of those other types of seconds. And so if things aren't the same, then we update everything. I really don't like my happy path being indented all like this, but I don't know if there's a way to change it. So now this is running, and if we look at every time the span and sup flash, that means there's a change to it, and it's happening every second. So this is all working, because if I were to comment this out, save, and we open this up, hit start, see how it's super flashing? That's 60 plus times a second. So we do it that way, and it's flashing every second. So that's working as intended. I don't like the indentation of this, however. I could move the double logic to a function that tracks the counts for each minute and second, have it do the setting in the DOM itself. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. So every time there's a change, it updates something, and that something that gets updated decides if the DOM needs to be changed, as opposed to doing it every 1/60th of a second or whatever. And I actually have been thinking about this the past couple of weeks at work, because I have nothing better to do, because I'm driving an Amazon van for 7 hours a day plus, so I have lots of time to think. So when I finally refactor this into a constructor function, it's going to have an event listener that's going to fire an update that's going to have the minutes and seconds. And so I will have a separate function that's listening for that update event, and if there's a change, then it makes it. So it's firing the update event every refresh cycle, but the DOM is only updating when there's a change. So that's how that's going to work in the future. But so that's, again, this whole file is nothing but a prototype. Then as we refactor, things are going to get hopefully a lot better and a lot nicer. Yeah, Ragnar, I've heard about proxies and I've read about them, but I still don't understand them. So maybe I'll do a deep dive into proxies at a later point just to know what they do. But right now, this is a functional first step. So then I need to take into account once the timestamp. Proxies are simple, they're black magic. Black magic is the best magic. Yeah. So I need to change it over from the main timer to the rest timer, and then once the rest timer, after the rest timer hits, then we are going to flip over to the main timer, and then every time the rest timer expires, then we are going to increment the cycle number. Then once the cycle number is 4 and the rest timer fires, or the rest timer ends, then we go into long break. So trying to think. So the run timer is getting bloated. So we're going to be making a new function that is going to check the main time versus rest time and keep track of the cycle number. So in my setting up here, we're going to const cycle type object.freeze. I am making an enum. And I'm just doing object.freeze because const is not enough to prevent cycle type from being messed with. So we're freezing it so it can't be messed with. So we have 0 is none, 1 is main timer, and 2 is rest timer, and I am doing this completely backwards. Because I am silly. Timer 1, rest timer 2, and break timer 3. Yeah, gotta love that const just locks in the reference and not the object it's referencing. Yeah, I mean const. Yeah, it's yay backwards compatibility. We'll just leave it at that, right? So this way, yes, it is overboard, Ragnar. But if I were to provide this to other people to use, it's just kind of there, and it works exactly as it's supposed to work. And if so, this way you can't just be like, hey, cycle cycle type 4 equals, or cycle type doom equals 4. It's gonna be like, hey, you can't do that. Whoops, not defined. Save. Yeah, so I can't do that. But I could just as easily be like, hey, doom is 4. And just like that, everything is a-okay. So it's It's a small thing, but it works for my use case. So in runtimer, we're going to check. So we're going to go ahead and check. Whoops. What am I doing? Yay. Check cycle. Delta time. Sounds like I'm a bicycle repair shop. Let's check the cycle. All right, so what we're going to check is delta time less than or equal to 0. Move on to rest/restart main. I'm going to check cycle number. Actually, before that, yeah, check cycle number. Set correct timer. Profit. If I could spell. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and check cycle. And we're going to pass in the truncated, because that way we're getting a whole number. Maybe, or should we just pass in the delta time milliseconds? You know, we should just pass in the delta time seconds. Okay, so if dt is less than or equal to 0, so if our current timer is at 0, what do we want to do? Well, we want to first we want to check the let current cycle equals cycle type dot none, and then in our start timer, current cycle equals cycle type dot main timer. Okay, so if current cycle is equal to cycle type dot main timer. Wow, this is a lot of ifs going on here. Holy crap. Actually, you know what? A lot more simpler is if delta time is greater than 0, don't do anything. Because we're checking the time, or we're checking the cycle. If the timer is still running, don't do anything. Boom, so much easier. I love early returns. It's one of my favoriteest things. Okay, so now if current cycle equals cycle type dot main timer, and current cycle is less than 4. So if it's less than 4, then we're still in our normal loop, because the Pomodoro is, whoops, readme. So we're going to change that to 5 minutes. So we're doing a 25-minute work, 5-minute break. We're doing that 4 total times. So we need to make sure that we are in the main timer and our current cycle is less than 4. So what happens if that is, then we want to current cycle equals cycle type dot rest. Yeah. Cycle type dot rest. Current countdown equals rest timer in seconds. Current countdown truncated equals rest timer in seconds. And that's it. Else if current cycle equals cycle type dot rest timer and current cycle is less than 4. Actually, I don't need to do that check here because we're only checking if the current cycle is less than 4. Because if it's greater than, if current cycle is 4, then we are going to kick over to the long break because it goes main time, rest, and then after that, that's round 1. Then we do main time, rest, that's 2, main time, rest, that's 3, main time, rest, that's 4, then long break. So if current cycle is rest timer and current cycle is less than 4, actually no, I don't think I want to do that because I need to, first thing I need to do is current cycle plus equals 1. So if it's a rest timer, that means that our cycle is completed. And then from here, we're going to determine if the, so if the current cycle is 4, then we kick off gonna kick off our long break. So we're going to kind of copy this here. So our current cycle, wait, I don't want current cycle, I want cycle number. Whoops. So current cycle is cycle number equals 4. Then we're going to go to the break timer, else cycle type dot main timer. Whoops. There we go. So I'm going to be doing a lot of ternaries in here because the rest timer is the branching point of the logic. So therefore I'm going to be doing this for almost everything. Rest timer in seconds. We want, if cycle number is 4, we want long break in seconds, else main timer in seconds. And then, you know, we'll just make it the current countdown because that's going to be a whole number. And then if Yeah, if I have the same condition all the time, maybe an actual if-else might be more readable. It might be, but this is just a proof of concept. Typo in long break variable. Huh. Look at that. Long break in seconds. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out, Marty. Appreciate it. All right, so anyway, so if cycle number is 4, then actually, no. Else if current cycle is cycle type dot break. Again, we're just gonna do a lot of copy paste. Main. And then cycle number equals 0. So that way, so if our cycle is main, then we're going to kick off our short rest. So our current cycle is now cycle type rest. Our countdown is rest timer in seconds. Current countdown truncated is rest timer in seconds. If we are in a rest period, we're going to increment the cycle number. So the first time it goes through, we are now at cycle number 2, because that means the rest timer has expired. We're changing the current cycle to main time if it is not our 4th cycle. Our countdown and truncated are also being updated accordingly. But if it is our 4th cycle through, we're going to our long break. And then if our cycle is a break timer, we're kicking back off to main. Our current countdown is going to main, and our truncated is going to main, and we're resetting our cycle back to 1. So to try this, we're going to go 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 5 minutes. And then we're just going to hit start. DT is not defined. Where is it not defined? Main.js 96. Delta time. Okay. Start. So we're just going to wait 2 minutes. Actually, you know what? We're going to make this 1 minute. We're going to make this half a minute. And we're going to make this 2 minutes. Therefore, we only have to wait a little bit of time. And I probably could have made this like 45 seconds and then this be 20 seconds. Whatever. Anyway, we're gonna wait a minute and a half. And we're going to check our sources, main.js. I'm wondering if, yeah, timescale multiplier for testing would be a really good idea. So I'm just wondering when this expires, is this gonna update? I don't think so. I probably should just do a console log. But we'll just see what happens. Five, 4, 3, 2. Such exciting YouTubing going on here. 0. All right, we're at -1. All right. And now we're counting up. That is not exactly what I was looking for. What am I missing? Current countdown, current timestamp. That's what I need to update. Yes? No. The current timestamp is always going to be the same. Right? not too late to do it. Yeah, I'm just gonna mess with the okay, so console.log delta time is less than 0, and then we'll just show delta time there. So we're gonna just call this, haha, see? I don't need no stinking time manipulation. Uh, 97. I need a comma here as well. Comma operator for the win. Okay. All right, so console log for the win. Let's go ahead and add just a bit of space here so we can keep an eye on that and see when it gets hit. Oh, you made a CSS clock years ago, Ragnar? Excellent. Maybe you could change it to work similar to this. All right, let's keep an eye on the console. Keep an eye on the console. Huh. That's because I am a fool. I don't want delta time. I want current countdown. That was kind of silly. Yeah. Yay, go me. Okay. Because we don't want to know how many seconds have elapsed since the last refresh. We want to know if our countdown is less than 0. 2, 1, boom. Yes. Delta time is not defined. Where do I have delta time? Line 98. All right, you know what? We're just going to say this is 10 seconds. This is 5 seconds. And this is just making it super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Start. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Yeah? Countdown, less than 0. And then we switch to that. Countdown, less than 0. We're back to 10 seconds. I should have made this a not 10-second thing too, so we could see the difference. All right. So we're going to make this, just to be contrary, we're going to make that 8 seconds. And then check cycle before this returns. We're going to console.log current cycle is current cycle, right? Yeah, which is our cycle type. All right, so we will restart. So current cycle is main timer, 2, 1, 0. Countdown, current cycle is 2. Actually, I'm going to see if I can object.values current cycle. Wait, no, object.values of cycle type current cycle. That should give me the string representation instead of the numerical representation, because object.values is giving me an array from cycle type, which means that I need put that on the outside of object.values. Because object.values cycle type is values. So array damn it, I need keys. One of these days I'll get it right. Object.keys. Okay. Four, three, two, 1, 0. Countdown current cycle is rest timer. Current cycle is main timer. All right, object.keys of something, sub something else gets me the keys as a string. Excellent. So now we're back in the rest timer. Now we're back in the main timer. Now this is 2, 3. This is gonna go back to rest timer one more time. And then once this should become 8 seconds. We'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And this should go to main, or to long break. Yeah, so it already went through break. So we had our 1, so we had our 1, 2, 3. So back to main timer. I think I need to start my my current cycle at 0 and not 1. So after our break, we have 1 main, 1 rest, 2 main, 2 rest, 3 main, 3 rest. Yeah, so long break, 1, 2, 3, and then break. Yeah, so that means my cycle number needs to start at 0. And I need to set cycle to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And then in my toggle, not toggle start button, but in start timer, we're going to throw in that console log there. So that way when current cycle is main. Excellent. So this is running through everything. Now our current cycle is rest. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm not going to save it because then I'll restart everything. But we have 1 main, 1 rest, 2 main, 2 rest. 3 main, 1, 1, 2, 3 main, 1, 2, 3 rest, 4 main, 4 rest, and then once this gets to 0, it should go up to 8 seconds. Boom, and we're in the break. Haha. Okay, that is a success. Then once that, and then break hits, now we're back at the main again. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and stop. 25 times 60, 5 times 60, and 10 times 60. Just setting that back to the way it was. Okay, so I think next time, because we currently have 148 lines of code. Actually a lot less because there's a lot of comments and such. Console.log. We'll go ahead and clear that. All right, so all said, we have less than 140 lines of code for a functional Pomodoro timer. So let's go ahead and hit the README, reset time. We're keeping track. Not going to mark that one off yet. We're going to mark that one off because there is no visual representation of how it's working, or no visual representation of the current cycle number. So that's gonna have to go up here. Like I said, I want to do like some sort of emoji that says if it's a work, break, or rest. Work. How do I have it? A main, a rest, or long break. I should just say like main, short rest, long or something, because rest and break, I'm getting those two confused, but that's neither here nor there. So need to put that in the DOM as well, and need to wrap this up in some sort of class type something or other. Obviously not using classes, because that would be silly. Why would I use classes? Instead, I can use constructor functions, which are more verbose but more fun for me because I am masochistic. That way we can take all of this and we can hide it all away because it doesn't need to be global. Work, coffee, home, nice. I like that. So let us bring my emoji keyboard, because I don't know how to actually do emojis. Travel in places. No, I need, find for me something is work. What do we think? Do we want the, that? No. Computer. Let's go with that. I don't want to copy character info. But if I copy character info, see, it does all of that crap. I just want the emoji. Coffee. Copy character info, and for some reason, it does all of that. And then home. I don't know how one would sleep at night with a coffee every 25 minutes. Yeah. You know, we're gonna call this rest. What do you think? Should we go with the bed or the sleeping face? Bed, sleeping sign, sleeping face. That's rest. Because I don't like the houses. And I don't know why toilet is in home. And I definitely do not like the rest in peace. So, sleeping face, sleeping sign, or person sleeping. Come on, Ragnar. This is all you, buddy. You're the one who recommended it. So what do you want to have for the home emoji? Well, I'm going to go with this one for now since you're not saying anything. Nope, that was the coffee. Sleepy face. Okay. So we'll use these emojis and then probably do something simple like that colon what is it, cycle number, and then we'll have to do a +1 in there because we're going 0 through 3. Yeah, I don't know what the YouTube delay is. It's kind of weird. So I do apologize for seeming impatient, but I set the delay to be as low as I could, but YouTube is just apparently being really stupid about it. But whatever. Let's go ahead and set the zoom back to 0. Then that way we'll know which cycle we're going through. It's a whopping 12 seconds. Okay. Way to go, YouTube. At least it's an even dozen. That makes it better, I guess. All right, so I've got all this taken care of. Next time we will. Oof, I do not like that. Huh. I think I'm an idiot, and you guys are gonna laugh at me, but bear with me a second here. So this needs to happen, right? The reason why I have all these nested ifs is because this needs to happen. So if that needs to happen, it's happening here. So if paused, return. Yeah? Whoops. Went too far. So if it's paused, return, because nothing else needs to happen, right? Then if new is equal to current, so if the number of seconds is the same, return, right? There's no need to do all that really silly, stupid indenting. And we will just check our inner divs. They are cycling through every second. Look at that. We're just going to do the, if this needs to happen, call it first. Then let everything else go. Boom. So that way, if it's paused, do nothing. Because we always need to, let's actually hit the pause button. We're at 20 seconds. Give it a little bit. Continue. Okay, so that's working. And then this is obviously working because we're seeing it flash every second here instead of a bajillion times a second. And by a bajillion, I mean, I think on web browsers default to 60 frames per second. So it's a good bet that the refresh rate is 60, even if your monitor is higher, but sometimes it could be more. So if our seconds are the same, don't do anything. And so in the state object thingy, or not state, in the class object thingy I'm going to make next time, I could easily say if they're different, then fire off an updated uh-oh. Can you still hear /see me? YouTube dashboard is saying I'm dropping frames like they're hot or something. And it says having problems showing you to your stream peeps. Okay, so you can still see and hear me. Excellent. Because I'm getting this, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. It says buff ... So I have to hover my mouse over it. And the truncated is, as such, viewers will experience buffering. So that might be why that has that 12-second lag time, because it's buffering and shit. So, ooh, I just swore. Crap. I hope they don't demonetize me. Spoiler alert, I don't get money from this anyway. Okay. A successful everything. So let's go ahead and add this to commit message, completed code for cycle and time change, updated readme commit, and then sync changes. Yes. Alrighty, look at that. One thing I do like about VS Code is the built-in Git integration. And let's see. My Pomodoro timer. Last updated just now. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this into the chat. So if you guys want to check out the code and futz around with it your own darn selves. Yeah, I started this project in VS Code, Ragnar, and actually I do have WebStorm. Hold on, let me jiggle my mouse down here a little bit. Jiggle, come on, show up. See, I have WebStorm, and I accidentally clicked on it. But I haven't had enough time to learn how to use it for like Git integration and live server and all that, which is why I'm using VS Code, because it has the live server. I'll go ahead and steal that away. So I'm learning WebStorm and I'm using it for other projects, but I haven't learned how to do it well enough to use it on stream. Then again, I don't really know coding well enough to stream, but I'm doing it anyway, so there you go. Although, now that I'm looking at my code, I'm wondering if this check cycle needs to be after this first return function, or after the second one. Because if nothing's changed, then nothing has changed, right? Yeah, and WebStorm is taking forever to load. Probably because I have too much crap going on. Anyway, we're going to... I was just given a notification that I have some stuff on. Anyway, Discord is telling me I have unread messages, but like I've read them already, so I don't know what it's trying to do. All right, WebStorm, hurry up! You're lagging literally everything. Let's see if I can just force close. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining the stream. Thanks for participating in chat, especially Ragnar. You've been a big help. And I hope this has been at least somewhat informative, and I don't know, do another one next week maybe, and we'll refactor everything into a more class-based thing to hide all of this state, because there's no reason for most of this to be global. Even though cycle type probably can be, I don't know. Probably will need to be, because that will allow me to appropriately yeah, so if I have so I'm thinking I might have like an array that would use the cycle type. You know, so I know I should be logging off, but like constant cycle type text equals an array not running, so that's my none. And then work coffee. Why did you go outside of that? And long rest. So that way I can do something like document dot query selector emoji dot inner text equals cycle type text of what did I call it? Current cycle. So that way, just whatever is in here is going to be what's set. So every time the check cycle happens and my current cycle changes, then it will allow this to do its thing. So that's something that I can think about doing for next time. Anyway, I'm going to log off for realsies this time. I could use modules and import with needed. Yeah, that's actually, sorry for not getting back to you. I was focused over here and the chat is over on my second monitor. But yeah, I will create a module that will export this, and it's going to take pretty much all of this and put it into an exported object. So I can just do new Pomodoro, and then that will take care of everything, and then like pomodoro.run or pomodoro.start, pomodoro.run, and then toggle will just be abstracted away. And then check cycle will be something that it does internally. Don't need to really worry about that at all. Things like that. So therefore I will export my cycle type, and I will export my Pomodoro constructor function to encapsulate everything, because that is better. And just one more time, hitting start, checking the console, making sure there's no errors. Excellent. So I'm gonna sign off for realsies. So thanks again for joining, and have a great rest of your week, because it's almost the weekend. Peace. Yes, I want to stream. And boom.